Hello, everyone. I'm Daniel Naqvi. I think Darren's quite happy I exist. I've been in role less than a year, so this time last year I was doing something else. And what I've been basically tasked to do is to try to understand what we can learn about connected vehicles and what the public sector opportunities are and how we go about securing those. Um, so Connected vehicles are kind of here now. They've been here for many years. And Darren and others in the department have kind of attempted and succeeded through the TTF and other means to kind of get that a priority in the department. And the reason I exist is that it kind of is now a priority, is really front and center of what we're thinking about in government. Um, when we talk about connected vehicles, for those who maybe not as familiar with them, we're talking about pretty much every vehicle that has the ability to communicate to other vehicles, networks, and infrastructures. Um, Darren talks about the 100-year-old connected vehicle that they ran from London to Brighton. So we're not talking about just modern technology. We're talking about in building that into kind of older vehicles as well. So the entire fleet. So the scope of this is absolutely massive. And I think this presentation, what I'm about to give to you, is a bit of an honest reflection on what we've been doing over the last 9 months since I've been in role, what we've learned, and how you can help. Because as Michaela said, we can't do this alone, and we need all of you to help us. So my first reflection is things are really hard. And that's probably not news to all of you in the room. Things are really complicated. And we like to use these words of kind of complex. That doesn't really tell us why or how. So the roads network or the road sector in the UK, as Sam alluded to, is complicated. We've got devolution in the public sector, but also we're dealing with a lot of private sector influences as well. And so we know that this technology and this data has the potential to reduce the amount of killed and seriously injured on our road, to improve environmental outcomes, to improve how we think about services and how we deliver services. And Alex's presentation and Sam's presentation talks about kind of bringing that to life through data and AI. Devolution does mean, in England especially, that the department has quite limited delivery control. And so it's really you in the room here who are going to be delivering these services on a national basis in your communities for your people. And so it's really important that we work with you closely through the TTF and through other means to be able to deliver that. And I guess my kind of second reflection is that we need to understand what government can do to help. What are the traditional means by which government is known to intervene? We talk a lot about market failures in government, but this kind of connected vehicle data market hasn't kind of failed yet. It's kind of still growing. It's new. It's being enabled. And so, where does government fit into that? And this is a kind of very common diagram that you'll see about kind of here's the spectrum of what government can do. And I guess there's a kind of open question about how this might transition in a kind of world of being more from kind of more physical infrastructure where we know how to invest and fund a road or a railway, but we might not do that effectively, data and digital. And so this is something kind of we're talking about internally about what's our kind of best route. And we've got different things on here like strategies and various strategies that colleagues have talked about today and action plans that are being developed. We've got also the kind of free market and how that operates. And that's kind of how we are right now. Suppliers are talking directly to local authorities and kind of sometimes coming directly to us, but we kind of direct them back to you because of the way that the first slide illustrates how devolution works. And so we have to really find our place in here. And we've got traditional roles, and those traditional roles are important, but we need to think about maybe being a bit dynamic about how we think about our role in that future. And of course, these aren't without challenges. These things are not particularly easy. We've got kind of data access, which has been spoken about. In the kind of connected vehicle world, access is mostly controlled by vehicle manufacturers. It's a kind of secondary transaction after you buy a vehicle. If it's a private car, you then consent to giving your data away to access all these services, like you would do if you were using a Google, which is a free at point of use. And there are kind of implications here for privacy and security that we are kind of genuinely concerned about. We've got interoperability. Sam mentioned this earlier. Data standards. Connected vehicles connect to something, and that's something that is kind of those infrastructure networks and other vehicles. And so it's really important that there is a common language by which we're talking about these things, because otherwise it just won't work. It will be connected to something and then not connected to something else. The quality of that, does this data tell us anything? Can we turn it into insights and information? Where do we get it from? Is it a trusted source? Can we triangulate it? What's the kind of methods by which we do that? I come from a research background, and that sort of thing's really important. The scale. My colleague Ursula, who's just started in my team, did a presentation to our directorate yesterday. And she's a physicist. And so we were thinking about how much data these vehicles produce. And we've anecdotally heard that it could be up to kind of between 10 and 25 gigabytes per hour data. So if you take a vehicle producing 10 gigabytes, and you took the 10 million of those vehicles, you're looking at kind of 36.5 exabytes, which is 10 to the 18 power of data per year. And because Ursula's a physicist, she used CERN, the super collider in Switzerland, as an example of how much data they collect a year and store a year. And it's 0.03 exabytes. So we're talking about a kind of scale in the thousands difference for vehicles, which is just obscene levels of data. And that comes on to kind of things like storage. There are implications. Data centers are increasingly being considered critical national infrastructure. There are environmental concerns and security concerns there as well. So, and then people, we obviously, being government officials, we're not immune to the kind of the challenges of kind of funding and resource. We know that that's a kind of pinch point for a lot of the services that you provide. And there's kind of a question about, as Alex raises, about trying to think about capability and how do we build that in the UK. So we really need to be targeted with how we focus our energy, and to do that, we could really use your help. So I'm going to ask you to use Slido, if that's okay, because delivering these services is not so much about what government wants. What government wants is important, and that drives the overall national framework. But what you want in your local communities is equally important. So I'll ask you if you could kind of let me know what your kind of top 3 priorities are in your local area. And we'll use this to kind of support our work in thinking about where those use cases we should be targeting most. And we can then kind of explore those separately. Let's see, maintenance is coming on, with safety. So yeah, so themes there about congestion, road safety, maintenance. Someone's helpfully put the Slido code in again. Yeah, okay. So common themes, but it's important that we ask you and not assume, and I think that's really important that we do that in government. So similar to Michaela, I'm around today. Please come and find me. Very happy to chat. Or you can get in contact with me over email. I'm more than happy to have a chat with you about what you're up to, what you want to get up, what you want to do, and how I can help. So with that, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much.